I think it's really interesting. Again, just judging by the sentiment I'm seeing online, there is no opposition in Victoria. I mean, the Liberal Party is a disgrace, federally and at state. But just looking at those internal squabbles, now Moria Deeming is involved in a lawsuit to try and stop the payment or get the payment. I don't even know. Like, who cares at this point? We've got a state that's so broke, that's going backwards. We're losing so many businesses that are just upping and leaving. And I know there's a lot of socialists out there who are just like, yes, screw the landowners, tax the rich. This is the thing that people forget. People have the option to leave. And so what you're seeing is people leaving Victoria and taking with them their business, their money, the jobs they are offering, the investment in the state. And what's going to be left? A whole bunch of people who don't want to pay their way, who have no money, who don't own land, and no one wants to put in the hard work. And my frustration with this is, like, I keep seeing it. Someone made a comment there that the Victorian socialists are gaining momentum. I'm not surprised. Young people just want everything to fall in their laps. But this is what the young people fail to understand. All of the people that you're trying to tax have the option to leave. You don't. And then you're stuck here cleaning up all the mess. So, as we've discussed, I've become an accelerationist, and I honestly think this is the only way forward. Labor has to win. I just don't think, even if the Liberals somehow manage to scrape together some policy that has really good messaging that starts to, hit home to people, I don't think that's going to be enough to fix Victoria. I think not to go to the point of Venezuela, but I think it has to get to the point where the state is actually bankrupt. There are no more pockets that you can grab money from. And then everyone turns around and looks at each other and goes, shit, what did we do? I think it has to get to that.
At the very least, it has to get to California. And there are people who still think that saying it's like California is a compliment. I assure you it's not. It has to get to the point where, we're already at the point. And I've switched cameras, by the way. This is just my laptop camera. So let me know if this is better or worse, guys. It's a worse camera, but maybe because it's not like stop motion, maybe that's the better option. The reality is California is a broke state where they don't have money for basic infrastructure. They're not actually, believe it or not, they're not actually as broke as Victoria is. Victoria is more broke than what California is.
I think the debt's the same number, right? So it's $200 billion in California and $200 billion in Victoria, but they have a GDP or a state GDP of 1.2 trillion in California, and ours is like.
California is the whole of Australia, basically, in terms of its its GDP.
Yeah.
So we already have a situation in Victoria where you can't afford to get sick and need a hospital. If you need an ambulance, you're in some serious trouble.
That's already happening.
You can't afford to need the police, and you're also not allowed to not need the police in the sense of defending yourself and having the means to defend yourself. Our roads are falling to pieces. Our infrastructure, including energy, which is one of the most essential economic inputs in the world, in any economy, is overpriced and increasingly unreliable. And yet people keep supporting the political party that did that to them. There's a reason why I left Victoria. And I was just talking before about how, you don't want to get too caught up in the bad stuff. Well, this is the bad stuff that does affect you day to day.
Yeah.
This is the bad stuff that you do need to be paying attention to, because if you don't, it'll bite you. There's a reason why I got my family out of Victoria. I got my family out of Victoria and we moved high up on a hill outside of flood danger. And I did that about 2.5 odd years ago now, because I knew the floods were coming, because I pay attention. I listen to people like David Burton, Inigo Jones, and because I could see where Victoria was going. And so that's my counsel to anyone that has the option would be, don't sit there thinking that there's going to be some sort of a snapback. I cannot see it. Now, people like Tim Molesworth, who I know personally, has a lot of connection to particular land that's in Victoria, and I respect that. Okay, that's fine. You've got a particular patch of land that you care about, no problem. For anyone that isn't in that boat, and for me, I'd lived in Melbourne since I was 2 years old. Melbourne was my home city. I thought I was going to grow old and die there. But the way that it's turned and the way that it's going, I would be doing my children a disservice to stay there.
Yeah.
And so I won't.
I just want to read this comment from Tanya. Why can't Australians who vote left look at socialist countries and see how happy people in those countries are? Russia,
Mm.
China, Korea, everything is so bad. America, everyone wants to go there. The issue is, okay, so I'm happy to answer this one because it's a lot simpler than you think. People are grossly ignorant and people are very quick to see what they want to see. So
Yeah.
whilst people might look at California and see Skid Row and think, oh, all the homeless people living in tents, what they see is the crazy wealth, the opportunities, the sun, the sunshine. And, it becomes really easy to sort of turn a blind eye, particularly if you're in a way, if you're someone that cares about LGBT stuff or you care about, progressing in Hollywood or in the arts or something like that. So you see what you want to see and you're somehow able to excuse the shit until it comes to a point where it's really bad. So at the moment, like places like California, the people that are the ones that are talking about it, all your celebrities, all your public figures, they're not impacted
Mm.
by it at all. They live in gated communities. They're richer beyond any of us can imagine. So it doesn't affect them yet. So when you're talking about the young ones here, these, and I'm making a big blanket statement, so just bear with
Well,
me. But here in Victoria, we have a very strong contingent of young people who are starting to really embrace the far left side of things. So whether it's the
well,
Palestine movement, it's the Victorian Socialists, the Greens Party, Abby Chatfields, all that sort of stuff. The reason being, I've said this on the podcast before, but this is a really simple answer. You've got to understand that these kids don't know better because they have been told since the day they were born that the climate is about to collapse on them, that the world is about to
yeah.
collapse. It's unfair and that they are the bad guys because of colonization. So these kids only know to resent everything that currently exists. So what do they have to do? They've got to do the opposite. And the opposite is embracing communism. That it's that simple. I really do think it's that simple. And a lot of these young kids, their parents are champagne socialists. Their
Yeah.
parents are as boomers. They own their home. They're able to live at home with their parents. They're relatively untouched and unfazed. So they're able to go and protest every other day of the week because mum and dad will foot the bill.
Yeah. And it is a sad state of affairs. And Carly, I get where you're coming from. And up until 2015, I would have been right there with you. In 2015, I went to Venezuela. I talk about it a lot. I'm not going to re-go through it, but I met a guy there who gave everything to try and save Venezuela against the will of the majority of Venezuelans. And as a result, he and his family, his son and now his grandson were stuck in Venezuela as it became a socialist hellhole and malnutrition and starvation and all of the rest of it. So that experience of being face to face with that man made me go, hang on, I never want to be him. And I really sort of made that resolution. I am never going to be him. So I would really, the idealism of we're going to save this, okay? You want to patch holes in the bottom of that boat, that's fine. But pay attention to how many other people around you are smashing bigger and bigger holes in the bottom of the same boat. And just be ready and willing and able to pivot when the time comes. Because some ships can't be saved. I'm not saying that Victoria is there yet, but some ships can't be saved, and you need to be able to spot when that threshold gets crossed.
I don't know if this is a troll message from Amanda or not, but if it is a troll, I'll just say this. I find it really repugnant that people that embrace socialism in a country like Australia do so proudly and use the word comrade, when comrade comes from a place where over 30 million people were slaughtered by their government. They were starved to death in famine, all under the guise of embracing communism. So you might think you're cool and you're cute using that word, but what you are doing is standing alongside one of the biggest mass murderers that's ever walked this earth. So well done, you.
Well, I can tell you, Carly, with confidence that you've just made Amanda very, very happy. She's one of my long-standing pet trolls, given away a little bit by the name Trollia. And I'm going to give Amanda credit here. She's quite correct. She got you hook, line, and sinker there. So Amanda is someone that feeds the comment section.
I think I like approaching these trolls because Amanda, tell me, how many of these socialist countries have you yourself been to, physically been to? I'm always curious. What stamps have you got in your passport?
Also, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say someone's just written China, 500 million citizens. Yeah, Mao. And this is the thing, like all these socialists think it's really cute. You know, you get to wear your hammer and sickle and your Che Guevara shirt and go up against, you know, the system. And what you're actually voting for is everyone to suffer. And this is, okay, I'm going to go on a rant. Sorry, I'm ready. I'm here.
Well, hey, so mix all over it. Love you, Toph, but Carl's is on fire tonight. Go for it. Give us a rant.
This is my show. No, this is what really fucking boils my blood when it comes to socialism, right? Everyone looks at what other people have, you know, your Jeff Bezoses of the world, and they have too much and I have nothing. Therefore, you should have nothing and we can all have nothing together. And then the way they say it is, no. We just want to redistribute wealth. We just want everyone to have a slice of the pie. Well, this is the issue. When you give everyone a little slice of that pie, what you do take away is the incentive for people to actually try, the incentive for people to actually do their bit. And so if everyone's getting that universal basic income, guess what? A lot of people just won't do fucking anything because they know that money is guaranteed in their bank account. Where have we seen that before? Oh, that's right. The dole. You see it often where people go, you know what? I've got enough money to just get by. I don't give a fuck. Right. And that is the, what do you call it, Topher? The perverse incentives of socialism. So whilst you're sitting there going, Jeff Bezos doesn't deserve a super yacht, I can't afford to rent. Okay, you take his super yacht off him. Sure, no worries. And then what you do is take away any incentive for anyone to actually give a damn, do any innovation, try hard, build something new that might actually create a workforce so that you yourself can lift yourself up out of poverty. Nope. Instead, you just want to sit there and embrace everyone else getting torn down because you yourself don't contribute. You want to get it handed to you. And then what you end up seeing is businesses shutting down, everyone getting really melancholy. And then what happens? You end up in breadlines. You end up in realizing that no one's actually contributing anymore. And then there's nothing to take and redistribute. So welcome, that's socialism. But you don't want to see that.
Yeah. So the fundamental difference in worldview is socialism says that there is a fixed pie. And if someone has more than you, it's because they took more than their fair share. Capitalism recognizes that the size of the pie can change, and it can actually change very quickly. And that if someone is responsible for making the pie much, much, much bigger, then them ending up with a bigger slice is perfectly just and perfectly justified. And in fact, it's necessary because that's what gives them the incentive to make the pie bigger.
You've just watched another short clip from the Oddcast, and if you'd like to see the full video, it is over at our dedicated channel. That is the Oddcast HQ on YouTube. We will see you there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and have a chat in the comments.